Does Mike Tomlin live up to his word? Does he do the things that he said he was going to do inside of that last media availability session? And do the Steelers need to maybe go out and get a big-time quarterback? Is that the real problem here in Pittsburgh? Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about the Steelers. We're into the offseason. Mike Tomlin gives his last availability session, his media availability session, to the Pittsburgh sports media, and he said that he was going to do a few things. He said that he was going to look outside for an offensive coordinator hire. Where does he need to go with that? I think that Mike Tomlin really admires guys like Sean McVay, the 49ers organization, and what they're doing on offense. So I think that that's where the Steelers need to really look. A guy that's maybe inside of that coaching tree. A guy that could bring in a new way of doing offense. A more updated way of doing the offense. Because I think Mike Tomlin and this organization have just grown so accustomed to that Big Ben style of play. That I'll scramble around, I'll try to make some moves with my legs, sliding in and out of the pocket to create plays downfield, playing more of a backyard style football. And I think that that's maybe where they're going wrong right now. I think that they've been so stuck in that way of doing business. I think that now they need to get into this NFL way, this new NFL way of doing things. And that is spreading teams out, stretching the field, running a lot of pass plays, more pass plays than run plays. They just need to get involved in this new way. The rules are geared toward the offensive side of the football. So if you're the Steelers, you got to take advantage of that. If you're Mike Tomlin, you got to really start to think of that instead of thinking ground and pound, just, playing that old school ball. I think now is the time that they move on and do something different. And like I said, he admires those guys on the West Coast, those teams that are really offensive-centric teams that really know how to get the ball moving. And I think you need to pluck somebody out of those coaching trees. Because I think right now the biggest problem with Mike Tomlin is he hasn't been able to solve the issue that's been left to him at quarterback. He, for so long, had Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was starting to age out and starting not to be able to do the things that he once was able to do. But Mike Tomlin has just relied so heavily on having that guy already in place. And now that he has to look outside the organization maybe. Now he has to really try to figure this out, and something he's never tried to do. But Mike Tomlin, is he just one quarterback away? Is that the real issue with Mike Tomlin? Is that why he hasn't won a playoff game in 7 years, 5 tries? Is that the reason? Is the quarterback the reason that these teams fail? Do you have to have a quarterback? And I think the answer is yes. I think if you don't have one of those elite guys, you don't have one of those guys that can move the football and stretch the defense, I think you just become so one-dimensional, especially in big games. And we saw that in Buffalo. We saw the inability to move the ball because I think the offensive coordinators were living too far inside of that shell, living inside their fears, as Mike Tomlin once said a million times. But I think that that's what they were doing. They were living inside of their fears, and I think they need to get a guy that's more aggressive, a guy that is going to allow the offense to develop and allow them to grow throughout the season. Yes, you have to have a run game, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you don't run the football 25, 30 times. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to have a multi-dimensional type of offense. And when I mean multi-dimensional, I mean pass, run, and different types of stylistic type plays, things that you put your stamp on, things that you do well, like heavy motions, the jet sweeps, just for instance. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but things that you do special that you hang your hat on. You have to have a multi-dimensional type of offense, one that defenses can't force you into doing what they want. They can't dictate the play of the game. And if you're Mike Tomlin, you have to figure that out. You have to go out and get a guy that does that. It's just so crazy to me. We sit now here and listen in the offseason, listen to Mike Tomlin, and I think I've heard this lip service before from Mike Tomlin. And now that he's the coach, I'm behind him. The talk of getting rid of him and firing him is for naught. It's a waste of our time. We're not getting rid of him. He's not going anywhere. He's staying. So now we have to figure out what to do with him. We have to get behind Mike Tomlin yet again. And as he inches toward that 20-year mark as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, it's time for him to really get different. He has to get different, guys. He has to start doing things that make sense. You can't keep living inside of the same old stale approach of offense. Defensively, I think they're on the right path. I think, yes, they need to fill some holes, and I think as we break down things toward the draft, you'll be pleasantly surprised because I think there's some guys out there that they could really fill some holes with. I think there's some Omar Khan type moves that could be done in order to secure this defense up a little bit. Also, you may have some guys coming back from injury, like a Corey Trice. He could end up being good. I'm just saying there are options there, and the defense isn't as far off as I feel like this offense is. I feel like this offense, and I know people like Mason Rudolph, and I do too, and I think he could be the answer. But I'm starting to think, I took yesterday as like a little bit of a break. I went and played in the snow with my kids. We went sled riding. We shoveled snow. We did all those fun things. And just to let you know, it was absolutely awesome. And I just needed that day to decompress and get away from doing this and get away from everything else in life and just kind of do some fun things. And we played. We were sled riding and we were going down this super big hill in over by our elementary school in front of it. And I failed to realize that there's a big divot at the bottom of this hill, and my son and I were going down. My son goes down twice, and my youngest son, who's 8 years old, jumps this thing, man. He gets air, and he loves it. He probably went like 4 foot out, just loved it, sliding across the parking lot, having a great time. And then Dad does it, and I mean, I get rocked, dude. My back is crushed. It hurts so bad still to this day. From yesterday, it's still hurting me so bad. But my son goes, and as soon as I turn around after getting rocked, man, doing something stupid, here he comes, barreling down the hill, guys, flying. I'm like, oh no, man, this is gonna be disaster. He gets air, he flies over this dip, and when he hits, he's screaming, "Dad, help me, I'm hurt." I'm like, oh shit, here we go. But eventually, he was okay. His back's sore. So we were done at that spot. We went to another different spot, and his gloves got wet, so Dad got him in the car, and we decided to come home, shovel some snow, shovel the neighbor out, doing things of that nature. So, yeah. And then this morning, I had to run my wife to work because she doesn't drive in the snow. So that was a fun little trip because the roads here where I live, right on the border of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. I live in the West Virginia side in Morgantown, and West Virginia does not do anything to the roads, guys. They are absolutely horrible. They don't salt, they don't plow, they don't do shit. They have like one salt truck for the whole county, which is huge. So needless to say, it's ridiculous, but we've been having a crazy time. Things have been crazy here with the snow. We probably got a good 8 inches here, so that's pretty crazy. We haven't got 8 inches of snow in quite some time. But like I said, it's given me some time, and what I used that for yesterday when we were playing and hanging out, just thinking, and I put out some content that I felt like Mason Rudolph could be the answer, and I still think he could be. But I think what needs to really happen, guys, and I think what needs to really take place, and I am going to have to dive into the numbers. I'm going to have to dive into the cap. I'm going to have to dive into what the Steelers are going to have available and where they could restructure things to make moves work. But I'm thinking, I've heard a lot of the Justin Fields. I like that move. I don't like a Kirk Cousins. I don't like anything like that. I mean, I would even take as much as Baker Mayfield. I don't think Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. I think his injuries hinder him a little bit. But he's a tough cat, man. And he's proven that he can play. But I really like the Justin Fields scenario. And I'm thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers never get to pick high enough in the draft to go out and get one of these young, true monster type guys. These true home run type hitter quarterbacks. They don't get that opportunity often. So I'm in the theory of thinking here that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to either utilize some capital in terms of draft picks, money, things of that nature, and go out and either trade up in the draft to get the guy you want. Just hear me out. Or trade for a guy like Justin Fields. Or if you can get a Baker Mayfield a little bit cheaper. But I think you need to get somebody that has a little bit of oomph to him. A little bit of different play. A little bit of different style. And I think guys like Justin Fields, a Baker Mayfield, I think they could really fit well inside of the city of Pittsburgh. I think they could become real Pittsburgh guys. They have strong arms, in my opinion. I'd really like Justin Fields. If the Steelers can make a move with the Bears and bring Justin Fields into this organization, I think that it could really lift this team up big time. After really thinking about it and looking at his style of play, really looking at it from a different angle than I was before, not being blinded by the season, not being blinded by Mason Rudolph's last few games. I'm not thinking that they go out and bring Mason back, to be honest. I'm thinking maybe that they just let that ride and save that money and go out and try to do something with a guy like a Justin Fields, move up in the draft and get a guy that you potentially really like and really want. I've heard Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback. I've heard Jalen Daniels, I think is his name. But I've heard rumors about that and people thinking that they could get him in the 20s where they're going to pick. But if you're the Steelers, why not maybe package some draft capital? Why not? If you are looking down the barrel of a contract for Mike Tomlin, a guy that has never got to this point, a guy that has never got to the end and can see the light. He can see the end of the tunnel here. You've never gotten to that stage. If this is truly your last few years with Mike Tomlin, if Mike Tomlin after this season in 2024, if he's going to go on a year-to-year basis and kind of be like that, why not pour everything into trying to build a winner now? Why not? Why not try to do that? Why not try to dump every resource you have into trying to build something special? And I think if you're the Steelers, and I don't think that, I've said it in the past here, recent past, that I don't think the Steelers are just a quarterback away. But really looking at this and the way they play defense, the numbers that they've been able to accrue on defense, the way they could turn the ball over, the way that they've been able to hold their team in games, hold them in the season without letting them fall out of playoff contention, I think the Steelers may just be that, a quarterback away. They have some young talent on offense. They're going to have some guys. You bring back a Jaylen Warren or draft another guy. You try to figure that out. Those things you can fix inside of the draft. So you can pick up a great running back lead in the draft. You can pick up good quality wide receivers later in the draft, gems, and the Steelers have been able to do that. They've been able to find guys late in the draft that have transpired into great players at the receiver position. So they're able to do those things. They've been kind of uneasy in the defensive backfield. That's why they had to make that trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick with a number 1 overall selection. They had to do things differently to get a guy like Minkah. They were fortunate to get Joey Porter Jr., who I think is going to be a real star within the Steelers organization for many years to come. I think he is going to be one of the cornerstone foundational pieces of that defense moving forward. You have an aging TJ Watt, possibly Cam Hayward not coming back because he's going to have to restructure his deal in order for this Steelers team to bring him back. But if you're the Steelers, I think you might be a quarterback away with the way that things are working out. And if you are this team, I think possibly you go out and you empty the bank. You empty the chamber, man. You figure it out. You make a deal work. And yes, you might have to give up some draft capital, but I'm okay with spending some of that. Because if you do the right things and you put other organizations into the wrong spots for them, to where they become desperate and things like that, they have players that you have players they need. It all works out, man. You can make some moves. You can turn other players into more draft capital. You can empty the draft capital you currently have, flip other players to build that back up just to gain the quarterback. And are the Steelers just one player away? I think they could be. You have a special talent in George Pickens. And guys, Calvin Austin can be good. He could really stretch the field. And the Steelers underutilized him. The tight end room, I think, has some good talent. I'm not sure if Pat Freiermuth was the guy moving forward into the future. We'll see. We'll see how that works, maybe with a better quarterback. But if you get a quarterback like a guy like Justin Fields, a guy that utilizes that tight end room, a guy that is going to really value having a guy like George Pickens, I think you could be special. And if you play that same style of defense, you don't deviate from it. You play that turnover type ball and you're able to be consistent and you don't have them on the field all season to where they're somewhat healthy moving into the playoffs. I think that this team could make some moves. And why not do it now? And if you're Mike Tomlin, you bring in a different type of OC. He says he's going outside of the organization. Sully, Faulkner, they're not going to be promoted. There are going to be changes inside of this coaching staff this season, according to Mike Tomlin. We will see if he holds true to that. But I do think that if you bring in a different type of offensive coordinator, one that runs a more pass-centric, stretching the defense type of system, I think that you could really do some special things, especially if you get a guy like Justin Fields. And I've been really hung up on him the last couple of days, and I'm not sure why. I really, really, really like him for some reason. And I think being in Chicago has hurt his career. And I think getting a new start inside of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization could be pivotal. And I don't know how much it costs for him, but I think the Steelers could get him at a reasonable rate. I'm not saying affordable, but reasonable. I think they could get it done. We'll see how this all rolls, guys, and how this all transpires. But I think the Steelers really, really could use a guy like a Justin Fields, a guy that can run the football. And I think it would make the AFC North so difficult, though. Really difficult. If the Steelers arm up with a quality quarterback, I think this division is going to be even tougher than it was last year. It'll be even better. It will be the best organization or the best division in football. And I think, honestly, the sad part of it is they will beat the shit out of each other, and that might be a problem, but it will battle test a team. You will see the Ravens today as they take on the Houston Texans, a team that has had to battle. They didn't have the best record in the division. That was by the Steelers, a 5-1 record. The black and blue division, really, guys. Division they beat each other up in. But you're going to see what the product of that is. Getting a good record, getting some rest. We're going to see if Lamar comes out flat. We're going to see how this all works out. But I think if you're the Steelers, getting a quarterback, getting involved in the conversation of having a quality quarterback, not being last in the division because you don't have the quarterback in place, I think that that can spell big things. And we're going to see the AFC North be represented by its last team today in the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to give you my picks of these games today. I think the Baltimore Ravens lose. I'll just give them through the weekend here. I think the Baltimore Ravens lose to the Houston Texans. I think the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home, and I think that the Texans lose to the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills will face the Green Bay Packers or the Detroit Lions. Those are my two picks. So for the Super Bowl, I think that's how that rolls. I think the Lions win against Tampa Bay, and I think the 49ers lose to the Green Bay Packers in heartbreaking fashion, and that will be a Lions-Green Bay NFC Championship game inside the city of Detroit, and I'm so thankful that that could happen. I really hope it does because the city of Detroit deserves that, and they've had a loser for far too long. That's going to be the team that I root for this postseason will be the Lions, because I just think the story is awesome, and I hope they're able to make it to the top of the mountain and compete for a Vince Lombardi trophy. And I think that will probably be the matchup, the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. And I think the Bills finally get that first Super Bowl. I think it'll be like a close game, whoever they play. I think it'll be a high-scoring affair, but I think the Bills really do win the Super Bowl. The Steelers and Bills have played before in the playoffs, and whoever won that game has went on to the Super Bowl, and I think this will be no different. I think the Buffalo Bills do reach the pinnacle in a Super Bowl game versus the Lions or the Packers. So those are my picks. Those are my thoughts today. I appreciate you guys respecting not putting out any video yesterday. I just needed a decompression day, man. I just needed not to have to worry about doing content, worry about other stuff. I love doing the content. That's not the thing. I just wanted a break from regular day. So I got that break. Everything's back to normal. We're back to hammering it out. And let's share and like the shit out of this video. Now that it's the off season, it's so much more imperative that you guys like these videos and share them and spread the word to get these views up, because in the off season our views go down because people aren't really looking at the Steelers. So get it out there, spread the word, and get everybody pumped up and fired up about the channel. Again, we're going to just hammer down, put out content back to every day. So thank you for that day break. I appreciate everybody so much. And until next time, I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Peace.